Okay, so that was a whistle-stop tour of hypothesis testing with a few examples. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense to you. Do have a look at it again if you were still struggling. It is difficult to find the numbers in the table sometimes. Just try and get used to it. Remember, if you look at the bottom of the table, you're looking for when it says near to, or if it's below the significance level, depending on what the question asks. At the top end of the table, you're looking for the 95% or the 99%. And then when you find the critical region, you get x is larger than or equal to something, and you always need to add one on to the value you got in the table. Okay, it is a little bit tricky, but you'll soon get used to it. Let's have a look at an exam style question to finish off. So an archer normally hits a target 40% of the time, but she believes her strike rate has changed. We want the null and the alternative hypotheses. We want to find the critical region, and then we're going to comment on the suspicion that her strike rate has changed. The first part, the null and alternative, you can get straight from the question. Look at what she said about what she thinks about the strike rate, what she said about it. That'll give you the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis is written in the question. For the critical region, you're going to need the formula book and the tables. Okay. We take a sample of 15 shots. You're going to have to find the table with n is 15 and with p is 0.4. Think about whether it's a one-tailed or a two-tailed test. And see if you can find where the critical region is. Okay, get used to using the tables in the formula book. It's really important that you get used to what they look like. Have a go at this question now, even if you just have a bit of a look and maybe just do part A, but do as much as you think you can do. And a little bit later on, I'll give you the answer to the question. I'll do the work to answer for it. So have a look at this question now. Okay, hopefully you've had a bit of a go at that question, so let's have a look at the answer. So the first bit was to write down the null and the alternative hypothesis. So we want our H0 and our H1. Okay. Also, it's worth writing down the distribution. X is binomially distributed. N is 15 for part B. There's going to be 15 in the sample. And P is 0.4. We'll come back to that in a second. We don't need that bit till part B, but it's always good to write down the distributions. So the null hypothesis is going to be that P equals 0.4. That's what her normal strike rate is, so we're assuming it's the same. Okay, that's the assumption. Now, the alternative, look how it says she believes her strike rate has changed. Not it's increased or decreased, it's changed. And therefore, the alternative hypothesis is that P is not equal to 0.4. Okay? Hopefully straight away you've seen that this is going to be a two-tailed test because we've got a not equal to sign. Okay? Now for part B, we've got two-tail, we've written down our distribution, and we want to find, there's 15 shots, we want to find the critical region with a significance level of 10%. We've said there's going to be 5% in each tail. Remember, we have to half that significance level because we've got two critical regions. We can only have 5% in each region if we've got a 10% total significance level. So we need to find it in the table now. So I've dug out the table for n is 15. And we're going to look down the column for p is 0.4, which is this one. Okay. And remember, we're going to find two critical regions. We're going to look for the value that's as near to 5% as possible. And if we have a look down, it's this one here, isn't it? The next one up is too big, and this one's the closest to 5%, it's 2.7%. Okay? And if we look across, that's x is less than or equal to 2. We're then going to look down and look for 95%, so this is the top of the critical region. And this one here is the closest to 95%. Okay? This is x is less than or equal to 9. So now we can sort of draw our critical region. It's here. X is less than or equal to 2, and it's here from 10 to the end. Okay, so our critical region is x is less than or equal to 2, or x is larger than or equal to 10. Remember, we have to add 1 on, so we go from 9 to 10 because the critical region starts just below that value. Okay, so that's our critical region. We've had about 5% probability of rejection in each tail there. So you can see, although it's not straightforward, there's not very much working to do. There's just looking up some numbers in the tables and understanding what you're doing with the tables. Part C says she finds that 3 shots hit the target. Comment on her suspicion in light of this. Well, 3 shots hit the target. We're actually in the acceptance region, aren't we? If we look at the table, we're here. We're outside of the critical region. Okay, the critical region was x is less than or equal to 2. So because of that, there's insufficient evidence to reject H0. So what we're saying is we haven't supplied enough evidence that probability of hitting the target has actually changed. At a 10% level of significance, we're happy to accept that there's probably still 40%. Okay, and there's not enough evidence to change from that assumption. Because of that, we're just going to accept H0. Okay. If only 2 of them had hit the target, we would be in the critical region and we'd say, okay, there is enough evidence to reject H0, so we're going to reject it, which would mean we're kind of favouring the alternative hypothesis at that point. Okay, so hopefully that question made a bit of sense. I know it's tricky, this section. Best way is to do some practice. And that's it for this lesson. That's the end of statistics. We finished off hypothesis testing now, which was the last topic. So we'll be moving on to mechanics next time. But in the meantime, while you're looking at hypothesis testing, have a look at the website at Solve4x. We've got loads of questions to do, loads of quiz questions. There's a load of summary sheets on there for hypothesis testing as well. There's basically loads of stuff to make sure you really understand hypothesis testing and can get to grips with using the tables. So please do have a look at that. Feel free to have a look at the other lessons on there as well. But next time we'll be back and moving on to mechanics. And I hope to see you then. Bye.